Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every question there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Last round at Kansas, we saw Bradley Holly fight hard but clean for a great win versus his rival Abner Acosta. Will either of them take top honours this week? Will Matthew Long break through to defend his narrowing championship lead? It's sure to be a pivotal mid-season round here at Texas Motor Speedway in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Reese Gardner, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Texas's layout is common, a 1.5 mile quad oval, but that doesn't mean it can't bring a challenge all its own. Let's check it out in depth.
Welcome to Texas Speedway. They say everything's bigger in Texas, and TMS doesn't disappoint. Located 45 minutes northwest of downtown Dallas and just over 20 minutes north of downtown Fort Worth, Texas Motor Speedway opened back in February of 1996. Texas Motor Speedway has been a staple on the NASCAR and IndyCar circuits since the first major event was held here back in 1997. TMS is a 1.5 mile quad oval mirroring sister tracks in Atlanta and Charlotte, but what makes Texas unique is the varied banking. Turns 1 and 2 are banked at 20 degrees. Turns 3 and 4 are banked at 24 degrees. And that may not seem like much to you, but the reduction in banking combined with an abrupt exit angle in turn 2 makes the first half of the track among the trickiest in oval racing. Many an iRacer have seen their race come to an end after bouncing off the turn 2 wall. Now on the back half of the track, turns 3 and 4 make for some of the most intense and exciting wheel-to-wheel racing in the world, and have led to many memorable finishes in NASCAR and in IndyCar, including 2 of the 6 closest finishes in IndyCar history. The Lone Star Tower stands as one of the most visually stunning structures on the iRacing service. Located in Turn 2, this 10-story building is home to condominiums as well as office suites, and boy does it stand out under the picturesque setting Texas sun. Well, that's our look at Texas Motor Speedway. Now sit back, kick up your cowboy boots, and enjoy the show.
Well, Chris, Texas Motor Speedway, it's been around since the mid-90s, but modified in 2017. The current version of the track actually has a bit of variable banking from turns 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. A bit less banking and much wider in turns 1 and 2. It's going to make for some interesting racing here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of flat-out racing here at Texas, kind of similar to what we saw last week at Kansas. With the revisions to the race, look for turns 1 and 2 to be a little more challenging for the drivers here, whereas 3 and 4 is our traditional high-banked intermediate track corner. So we'll see a lot of on-throttle time, some drafting, and a whole lot of fun here. So get your yeehaws ready for Texas Motor Speedway.
My yeehaws are certainly ready. I got my big hat in the corner too. Let's check out and thank our sponsors for tonight. Our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation MotorSports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Well, time to check out the lie of the land once again in terms of the Drivers' Championship. Bradley Holly taking the win last round at Kansas. That means that he is locked in for the round of 8. But Matthew Long still leads the championship only by 2 points here, Chris. The title fight is really closing up here in the middle of the season. Abner Acosta, Thomas Sink, and Adam Zemke still very much in contention as well.
And of course, that team's championship is heating up as well as we get towards the mid part of the season. Just 7 points separating the two Whataback teams. Back Row Racing on top and Overdrive Racing coming from behind, just 7 markers back. Car Ramrod another 20 back in third. Then they have a nice little bit of breathing room over Car Motorsports. And then the Whataback Next Level Racing team on an island there in 5th spot.
It was a very good run for Whataback last round at Kansas. It'll be interesting to see how they do here at Texas. In terms of this race, 85 laps, same as Kansas, and it's the same as always. 4 tyre sets, no spare truck. They got a fixed setup. Every driver has to drive with the same settings, though they can change some minor things on the car, like brake bias and thereabouts. 24 incident limit, so you got to keep it clean. Well, the drivers are now in qualifying 5 minutes, 2 laps for every driver to set their time for the start. And the practice times they were looking pretty interesting. They were topped by Mark Kalin in the number 62. 30.311 was the time he set. Bradley Holly, not that far behind, only a few hundredths as the drivers now begin setting their times. So it's looking like a competitive fight for pole position here, Chris.
Yeah, I think this could be a real barn burner of a qualifying session. Look for these guys to be pretty close to each other based on practice times, and could even see a few surprises creep up as we follow along with Patrick Cowgill, one of those playoff drivers in the 31 truck.
Yes, Patrick did not have the best of races at Kansas last week. Hopefully he'll be able to improve his fortunes here as he goes to P2. Joshua Daniels, 30.5 to P1 so far. The fourth driver to set a time, Doyle Lawrence, sets himself into P3. Looks like quite a few drivers just waiting a little bit to set their times here. We've got drivers like Miguel Angel Cardozo, Josh Conker, and Bradley Holly still in the pits. We should expect them at the end of this session.
Yeah, as Thomas Sink goes up to second on the charts. Oh, actually, Patrick Cowgill on a second lap jumps back up to second as Joshua Daniels puts in an even better second lap time to stay on top of the charts. But look for some of the top names to wait till a little bit later in the session to go out. But when you wait till later, you do also risk miscalculating and possibly running up against the clock.
Yeah, very true. And you've got to be precise when you bring your car out at the end of the session. One mistake can ruin your run. Mark Kalin was up to P2, but Denny Cervantes has managed to pip him by 0.05 of a second. AJ Roderick going to P5. Kalin for his second lap. He unfortunately was not able to improve there. I think maybe a couple of small slides along the way, maybe not carrying the momentum he needed, demonstrating that lovely wide high banked final turn here coming through. And that's Jim Westerfield putting himself P11 and on board with the drivers here. Oh, sorry, Bradley Holly we're looking at the moment. My apologies. Bradley just demonstrating turns 1 and 2 there. As you can see, 4 degrees less banking than turns 3 and 4 here. So what does that translate into for the drivers, Chris? It's obviously wider in turns 1 and 2, a bit more room to throw one up the inside, but you're going to be suffering with mechanical grip through there.
Yeah, with less banking, of course, there's less to hold you onto the track. So you're fighting the truck a little bit more, trying to keep it towards the bottom. Less banking. Ooh, big slide by Bradley Holly there. He is not happy with that move.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was alluding to. You know, less banking, it means you're more likely to have a slide. You have to really manage the grip through the turn. And Bradley Holly, unfortunately, suffering from a bit of instability in the rear end through turns 1 and 2 there, so he won't improve on his time, which is currently good enough for P3. Rob Haynes, meanwhile, goes to P5 as the session enters its final minute.
You know, one thing about these tracks that have drastically different ends like Texas does is it's always thrown off my rhythm a lot as a driver. You kind of get into that routine of the way you drive the track, and you kind of lean in the corners a certain way, and you can kind of lose track of where you're at on the track, and can sometimes miscalculate which corner you're in and totally blow it. So definitely a lot to keep these drivers heads up here today.
Yes, indeed. There's Austin Hunter coming to the end of his qualifying run, and it looks like the majority of drivers have set times, but much like with Kansas last week, we got a couple of drivers who haven't set times, and we'll be starting at the back of the grid. Those drivers are Eric Hauk and Charles Sumner, so we'll be keeping an eye on them. I remember that Sumner had an excellent run at Kansas last week, starting a bit further down the field. Let's see if Texas brings him the same fortune. The session reaches its close, and we can go through the grid for round 5 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series here at Texas Motor Speedway. It is Abner Acosta who's managed to put it on pole position. Joshua Daniels starts alongside him. Bradley Holly and Josh Conker on row 2 with Danny Cervantes and Rob Haynes rounding out the top 6. Doug Evans and Mark Kalin start 7th and 8th with Patrick Cowgill and AJ Roderick rounding out the top 10. Quite a stacked top 10 there.
Just outside of the top 10 was Richard Thomas coming in at 11th with Adam Shane to his outside. Another Adam will be there in row 7 with Adam Zemke starting lucky 13th. Miguel Angel Cardozo will start to his outside. Austin Hunter and Thomas Sink will make up row number 8 with Colton Lane and your points leader Matthew Long in row number 9. Baron Hilton 19th. Daniel Knight will complete the top 20.
Looks like a lot of work to do there for Matthew Long. Jim Westerfield is going to start out at 21st alongside Doyle Lawrence. Dalton Geyer has got Rob Neller to his outside, with Huea Guerra and Clayton Montgomery starting 25th and 26th. Adam Young and Clayton Curry on row 14. Ryan Traver and Danik Momi round out the top 30. Then we've got our final 3 cars. Nicholas Hunter, the last car to set a time. And of course, Charles Sumner and Eric Hauck starting at the back of the grid, 32nd and 33rd. But we've still got 40 seconds to go before the timer runs out and the pace car can pull away. Bit of a unique start here at Texas Motor Speedway, similar to what we see at the Charlotte Roval. Means that there's probably a bit less of a chance for some incidents here as they come off the grid and onto the formation lap.
Yeah, it's always kind of been an adrenaline rush for me watching the cars stage on pit road, everyone angled that way. Just a really cool visual. And the iRacing pace car will be ready to pull away here in just a moment. We can get this thing underway.
There we go. Timer hits 0. And we can go racing for 85 laps here at Texas Motor Speedway. Now, these trucks, we're getting into the rhythm now of expecting what kinds of strategies the drivers will go for. Especially with that lower banking in turns 1 and 2, I'm expecting the tyres to be worked pretty hard there in the first part of the lap. And of course, fuel, not really a factor in these trucks. The tyres are the main focus, and you only get 4 sets. The drivers, if there is a caution sometime in the first maybe 30 laps, I reckon if a caution comes out around that time, you're probably going to see the majority of drivers come into the pits.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe bet there, Reese. Usually in that time span, unless it's right after another caution, typically these guys will hit pit road in that time span. And another thing to keep in mind is it is very hot in Texas today, over 100 degrees on track, and that makes for a slick track with a lot of sliding around, and can use up those tires real quick.
Yes, for all of the people watching around the world who use Celsius for temperature, it's 27 air and 39 track. So reasonably warm there, and 50% humidity as well. So not too high in terms of humidity, which means the engines should be producing a lot of power. The pace car will pull into the pits momentarily and we can get a start underway. Abner Acosta controls the field. Now, when does he decide to make the jump? Does he wait for the green flag or go early? He goes at the green, and it's a very even start here. We are racing at Texas Motor Speedway. Abner Acosta will lead the way into turn 1, but Bradley Holly might just... Oh dear, looks like we've got a crash at the back. Goodness me, that was a bit of a messy start there at the back of the grid. It looks like Eric Howe, Clayton Curry, Nicholas Hunter and Ryan Traver involved, and were immediately under caution. We barely got a turn's worth of racing in.
Yeah, Danik Momi ended up facing the wrong way on the front stretch, and yeah, typically you don't want to be facing towards oncoming traffic. That's definitely going to draw a caution.
Yeah, as we go to the replay, it looks to me like, yeah, we'll have to rewind just a little bit more, but it looks to me like it was a bit of an early jump from the drivers at the back of the grid. Ryan Traver went early and ended up having to check up into the rear of Adam Young, and that caused a concertina effect for the drivers behind, as you're about to see. There goes the start, the checkup happens, and boom, there we go. Ryan Traver gets spun around. He spins around the number 82 of Clayton Curry, and the other cars involved as well. It's not the start that they would have wanted from the back of the grid. They're walking wounded now.
Yeah, just kind of a chain reaction deal from people anticipating the start to go one way, and it did not go the way they were expecting. So that's a tough break for a few of those drivers towards the back of the grid here on the start. It is going to make things significantly more difficult from them starting in that manner But a bit of a break for Bradley Holly. He had the better start there and was able to get around Joshua Daniels. By virtue of that, he's going to end up restarting outside of the front row.
Yeah, that's not too bad of a place to be. Of course, Bradley Holly and Abner Acosta with that incredible battle for the lead in the final half of the race at Kansas, and looks like the stage is set for a bit of a repeat of that. We'll see how they go. And, you know, me not being an oval guy myself, I'm usually more active on the road side in touring cars, sports cars, open wheelers. I have not seen much racing at Texas Motor Speedway, so this is going to be a learning experience for me, and I'll certainly try to take you all along with it as I go on it. But it'll be interesting to see how the racing works out, especially in turns 1 and 2, whether or not the outside line will be able to hold on.
Yeah, Texas was definitely a product of that track boom in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, when it seemed like 1.5-mile ovals were popping up everywhere. And this track has been through a number of revisions since it opened back in 1997. And admittedly, the current configuration is definitely not one of the more popular ones that they've had in the time this track's been around. It makes it a lot more difficult to race. I mean, it's more of a technical challenge, which is interesting from that perspective. But as far as just the straight racing goes, it's something that a lot of people have lamented. But I will say this much, it is a pretty good fit for these NASCAR trucks, and I think the racing around here is pretty fun. And also, it races a lot like a super speedway, which is a pretty interesting way to race.
Yeah, very draft heavy, and the drivers will certainly be closing up in their packs, whether or not the leaders will be able to break away. The caution has been extended by a lap. We've still got cars in the pit lane and working out what to do. Eric Hauk in the InSim chat is a bit unhappy about that incident on the start. He's going to go a lap down, he says, and he certainly will. And I understand Eric's frustration, you know, starting at the back of the grid in a race like this and having an incident right at the start is a big blow to your plans for the night. So he's still carrying a great deal of damage to the front end of that truck. He'll be wanting to get behind someone and hopefully try to look after his tires, extend the stint, and see if he can get that lap back.
Yeah, it definitely ruins the fun when you get in an incident that early on. But we do have some onboard cameras with some of our pilots out there today, and we'll give you a quick walk through those. We're on board here with Austin Hunter. If you couldn't tell by the giant 2-foot-tall sign behind him with his name on it.
Yes, indeed. And looking forward is Austin Hunter, starting quite a ways down in the field here as we go on to the final lap before the caution ends. Also jumping in is Adam Young here, riding on board. He was jumping into the pits, and I think he was one of the drivers involved in that start crash. He seems quite unhappy with his circumstances at the moment, being held at the pit lane exit. Finally manages to get back out, and he's going to be starting quite a ways down there, a lap down on everyone else in 29th position. And of course, Bradley Holly, who we were looking at in qualifying, he's starting to get the eye in for this restart. Abner Acosta to his inside.
Yeah, and Bradley also looking a little bit impatient to get this one back underway and get everything sorted out.
Well, Clayton Curry is going to exit the pit lane way behind everyone else, and we should have pretty much all of our cars back out on track. Looks like the caution has been extended again for some reason. I think just to allow everyone to catch back up so we can get a full field restart here. And the drivers will be frustrated by that, Chris. They want to get racing again. And, you know, this race being 85 laps, we've now spent the first 5 laps under caution. And, you know, less time here for the drivers to try and work out how their race is going to go.
That's very true. It's very it's a very deflating feeling when you get all amped up for the start of a race, and then to be slowed down like this for going on 6 laps now can be a bit frustrating. Unfortunately, with timing and scoring pretty much being automated through iRacing, there are some quirks to the system, and unlike in the real world, you don't have some guy you can go to and say, "Hey, we need to fix this." So we're doing the best we can here with the PRL guys to get this one sorted out here, but they're working on it, and it sounds like series director Charles Sumner giving the drivers an earful on trying to keep this one going so we can have a green affair for the rest of the race.
Yes, be very careful on the start. Don't go too early. Don't jump on the brakes and surprise the drivers behind you. Some of the messages that I think I'd be saying if I were in Charles Sumner's position.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they call it down your way, Reese, but around here we call it a jackrabbit start. And that's definitely what we do not want here, is games on the restarts.
No, certainly not. I don't actually think we have a term for it down here in Australia. The pace car comes in, though, and Abner Acosta goes right away, taking the rest of the field by surprise. He has a gap over Bradley Holly as he crosses the start-finish line. Start of lap 7, we're racing again at Texas Motor Speedway. Bradley Holly sliding down to the inside, covers off Joshua Daniels, who's got Josh Conker trying to come around his outside with a couple of slides for P3, but Bradley Holly right on the back now of Abner Acosta. This is going to be quite the battle when Bradley Holly manages to catch up, but noticing a couple of technical issues for Abner Acosta. That won't inspire confidence for Holly, and certainly not for Abner.
Yeah, he's having some very rough connection issues, and that's going to be tough for Abner trying to be a championship contender this season.
Whoa.
Can't stay on the track, and we're already going 3 wide in parts of this race.
Goodness me, yeah. Doug Evans, Mark Kalin and Patrick Cowgill all fighting hard over basically 7th position. To the outside is Doug Evans and losing time in the final couple turns, but he gains the momentum back. We're under caution again, it seems. There's been an incident further down in the field. Looks like the number 9 there of Doyle Lawrence we're focusing on may have been involved in that. So only getting a couple of laps of racing in. It was exciting for a couple of moments, but it's gotten a bit too exciting for a few drivers out there. We are back under caution, and it's still too early for these drivers to think about going into the pits to change tires.
Ooh, and looks like Jim Westerfield and Doyle Lawrence going for the same piece of real estate there, and Jim Westerfield looks like he tried to Dukes of Hazzard his way over the front end of Doyle Lawrence, and that's going to do no good for either of those trucks.
No, certainly not. Looks like it was a move coming into turns 3 and 4, and oh man. Yeah, Doyle, he seemed to have momentum around the outside, but just understeer for the 35 down there on the bottom of the circuit. Came up into him, and that's what's going to happen here at these high-speed ovals. And pit lane, a hive of activity now. We've got Miguel Angel Cardozo, Jim Westerfield, Charles Sumner, Nicholas Hunter, and Ryan Traver all in the lane here.
Yeah, kind of surprised to see so many drivers on pit road this early on, but I guess with the issues getting this race started, maybe some guys trying an alternate strategy here.
Yes, there's not a huge amount of difference between tyres when one set is 10 laps older, but certainly does make a difference, and it could set your trajectory for the whole race up nicely to have some beautiful fresh tyres in the final stint, which is what the drivers want more than anything. So we'll see how it works out for those guys, whether or not we get more cautions here at Texas as the waiver rounds are on. And it looks to me like that was Clayton Curry being let by. Coming back around onto the lead lap. Or at least getting a lap back. His quest to try and get back on the lead lap, getting off to a start. And Abner Acosta will be thinking about the start again too. It was interesting to see how early he went on that restart. I'm wondering if he's going to do the same this time.
Speaking of that restart in Abner Acosta, we do have the playoffs still ongoing right now. Bradley Holly, the only driver locked into the next round, and there's only 7 spots remaining open and 12 drivers vying for it. Right now, Abner Acosta leads the point standings end of it with all the other drivers, but you have drivers like Josh Conker, Patrick Cowgill, Jim Westerfield, and Adam Zemke on the outside looking in right now. And one of those drivers manages to sneak a win, Reese, and there could be some angry competitors that end up missing out on the round of 8.
Absolutely. If you end up winning, you end up locked in to the next round of the playoffs. Bradley Holly, of course, taking the win at Kansas, he is locked in. So if Abner Acosta can hold him off here at Texas, he'll get that spot too. It's going to be one less spot for another of our playoff contenders to fight for as we continue through the round of 8. Abner Acosta still experiencing a couple of technical issues here behind the pace car. I've noticed him blinking in and out of existence a couple of times, and hopefully he'll be able to hold on. His hardware will be able to keep with him to the end of this race, but certainly Bradley Holly will not want to race too closely with Mr. Acosta this time round.
Yeah, when drivers have connection issues like that, for those of you watching along that aren't regulars on the service, that car or that truck can basically reappear just about anywhere. You have no idea where it's headed when it blinks out like that, so it makes it very unpredictable to try to pass, which is great if you're the leader and you're blinking, but can be very frustrating for the people following behind you.
Very frustrating indeed. All the field is forming up into their 2 rows. The lights on the pace car are out, and we should be going for our second restart of the night momentarily, unless the caution is extended once more. It does seem that the waiver rounds have been completed in due course, so we will be able to get a restart on our hands here. Now, drivers who will be looking to vault themselves a bit further up the order here include Patrick Cowgill and the likes of Josh Conker as well, starting out at P4. He is right behind that lead battle of Abner Acosta and Bradley Holly. If he and Joshua Daniels can make themselves known in that fight, then that could certainly upset the apple cart for the win of the race. But only one turn to go here before the pace car comes into the pits and we can go back to racing action. The field has formed up towards the rear. Just trailing off the back of the field a little bit is Clayton Curry, but that's not going to be a problem for Abner Acosta. He goes right away as soon as the pace car comes in. We're racing for the second time here at Texas Motor Speedway. Third time, really, if you want to be exact. And Acosta leads the way into turn 1. They fall into a line behind of Holly, Daniels, Conker, Cervantes. It's too wide between Patrick Cowgill and Rob Haynes. Haynes taking a little bit tighter of an exit, and it looks like it might be on for third place, as well as just trying something on Joshua Daniels. There was Josh Conker up the inside, couldn't get it done, but now the top 4 seem to be in their own world at the moment. Not for long, Danny Cervantes catching up.
There is a lot of very close racing going on right now. You wouldn't think those drivers are racing on tires that have cooled off a little bit under caution, as you have Josh Conker working around Josh Daniels for the final podium spot there. Looks like Conker may have the spot going into turn number 3.
Or can he hold on around the outside? Can he get the momentum off the exit of the banking? He's going to have a go at it through the start-finish area. Joshua Daniels, though, still ahead. But Josh Conker is getting very racy with him, trying to work his way past. Same for Rob Haynes. He's just completed the move on Mark Kalin into turn 1, and now he's on the back of Patrick Cowgill. But Abner Acosta and Bradley Holly starting to streak away here at the front of the field, as 3rd and 4th are a bit more involved with each other than anyone else.
And you saw it flash up at the top of your screen, Bradley Holly taking the fastest lap. Do believe that is a bonus point here in the PRL. You can hold on to that fastest lap through the end of the race. So Holly, looking to pick up the championship, is adding to his total here bit by bit, trying to wrest away the advantage that Acosta was able to take away by setting honors for pole. And then you have that battle for 3rd still raging on here, Reese.
Yeah, don't forget also you earn an extra point for every lap you spend in the lead. So Abner Acosta is the one with the advantage right now in terms of points, trying to get some back here on Bradley Holly, as it looks like Josh Daniels is starting to break away from Josh Conker here. Conker unsuccessful in his attempts to try and get past, and it seems he might have worked his tyres a little too hard. He's had to back off slightly as Daniels is now right on the back of this lead battle between Acosta and Holly. Single file racing for the most part now throughout the field, but everyone's in their own little battle packs of 3, 4, sometimes 5 or 6, and further back in the field, Austin Hunter is side by side with Adam Shane. It looks like that's the only side by side we're seeing in the field. The racing remaining close as ever up at the front. The number 28, meanwhile, looks to me like having a slight issue there. Was Ryan Traver falling off the back of the field, maybe an incident back in the field. So he's all on his own now, no draft help, and he's not that far ahead of everyone else as they continue to fight tooth and nail over these positions.
Yeah, whatever happened definitely put him well off the pace, as we have the field barreling down on him. And look at that. 6 trucks, 7 trucks back, nose to tail going into turn 3. You wouldn't know that we spent the first 10 laps of this race basically under caution, the way these guys are racing with each other right now.
Yeah, the drivers, I think, making a few plans for what moves they would make under caution and trying to execute them. Holly has gone a little bit wide in turn 1, left the door open for Joshua Daniels on the inside. The 77, though, not able to get the power down as well as Holly did. Those rear tyres seem to be in very good shape on Bradley Holly's Ford, and Josh Conker now sees an opportunity to get past Daniels here in turns 3 and 4. The higher banking helping him stay level with the number 77 across the start-finish line, but he's on the outside for turns 1 and 2. That's not really the place you want to be. They almost make contact as Ryan Traver lets them all through. God, that was a bit of a pucker moment there.
Oh, that is a that is a definite pucker moment there.
Oh dear. Well, without incident, Ryan Traver lets them all go.
That's one positive to the track here at Texas, is it is a big and wide racing surface you have here, so plenty of space to get out of the way if you're in a situation like Mr. Traver is right now.
Indeed. Adam Zemke there, the winner of round 1. A bit back in the field at the moment, down in 14th place and fighting with Colton Lane, and Daniel Knight up ahead of him with Thomas Sink in the battle too. He was put slightly off by Ryan Traver, having his presence made and running a little bit wide here through the tri-oval section, or the quad-oval section really. Door is open for Colton Lane on the inside. Will he be able to hold on? A little bit of a cooler surface there further up the top, which it seems is helping Adam Zemke there. A little bit less rubber. Doesn't have to worry too much about marbles, I think, at this stage. But it seems the outside line through turn 1 working for some people now.
Yeah, that outside line coming into its own here. Helping to add to the amount of racing space that we have out on the track. And I think we'll see more drivers moving up there as this race goes on.
We're on lap 24 now. The race is over a quarter distance done already. These races are usually timed to take under an hour. There's 39 minutes remaining. So if there's another couple of cautions here, we might end up going time certain in this race. And that'll be another little foible for the drivers to navigate as we check out this lead battle that's continuing to rage on. Abner Acosta with nerves of steel here to hold off Bradley Holly. This is exactly the same story that we saw at Kansas last week, except now it's at the beginning of the race rather than the end. And Holly is starting to creep up on him. Abner Acosta, some micro slides I saw from him in turns 3 and 4. Holly with the momentum now down the front stretch. on the outside into turns 1 and 2. Well, he'll be able to take a bit of a wider turn and maybe carry some more speed on the exit, but is that going to be successful? And actually, now that I think about it, Chris, does he actually want to be in front of Abner Acosta at this point?
That's another good point. For one, you get a little bit better fuel mileage following in the wake there. And when Holly is in that runner-up spot, he can, this may sound a little backwards, but he can actually dictate the pace a little bit. He can just show his nose a little bit like he did right there, and that's going to make Acosta push a little bit harder and use up his equipment a little bit better, while all Holly has to do is stay there in contact, and can definitely use that to his advantage later on. It's a move that he uses quite a bit, but it seems to be always very effective.
Well, we have unfortunately lost Ryan Traver. It seems that he has retired from the race, and coming down into the pits, that's Nicholas Hunter. He, of course, notified everyone on the text chat that he was coming into the lane. And I think to get a bit more of that damage repaired, maybe get a fresh set of rubber on that car and see what he can do towards the end of this race. The battling's still going on here. This is for 6th place. Patrick Cowgill, oh my goodness, Matthew Long almost making side-by-side contact there with Rob Haynes. In fact, I think there was a bit of a kiss there between them, and oh dear, oh, take it easy, Rob. Oh, Mark Kalin just holding on to the rear end there, having to make room for the Toyota down on the bottom. Very close fighting here in the latter half of the top 10. Cowgill and Long now involved with each other. But these three, goodness me, they are fighting tooth and nail for this position. Draft for Richard Thomas. They both managed to slip ahead of Rob Haynes finally and fall back into single file. For now, Patrick Cowgill and Matthew Long, though, side by side up ahead of them, and Long is going to take the position here versus Patrick Cowgill now up into 6th place.
Yeah, there's been a few dicey moments here in the first 30 laps, Reese, but we've got a nice rhythm going, clicking them off here as we follow along with Matthew Long in the 99. Working his way up through the field, already up to the 6th position. Looks he had to start from deep in the field, came from 18th. So your points leader is definitely making up time here.
That he is, and he's got clear track ahead of him to the top 5 just up ahead. So I think he'll be able to work his front tires a little less there in the clear air and maybe be able to get a good run of pace over the next 5-6 laps, draft up to the back of Danny Cervantes, who currently occupies P5, but he's still getting shadowed as Matthew Long by the likes of Cowgill, Kalin, Thomas, Daniel Knight and Rob Haynes, and actually Cowgill falling back and with a couple of helpings of opposite lock out of turns 3 and 4. His rear end is not looking good.
Yeah, that truck definitely looking a little bit tail happy here as some age has been applied to those tires. Mark Kalin seems to be getting things dialed in a little bit, though. He was quickest in practice, and now after a couple moments that looked a little scary, Kalin looks like he's on the attack.
He just clipped the apron, though, which might have hurt his stability slightly. Meanwhile, up the front, Abner Acosta, he's started to gap Bradley Holly. And looks to me like things are calming down just a little bit there at the front, but there's still big fighting behind. Adam Zemke and Colton Lane side by side on the back stretch, and Lane to the inside for turns 3 and 4. Bit of contact, they go a bit high. Looks like that might be Nicholas Hunter again coming into the pit lane. Adam Zemke, though, gets the run out of turns 3 and 4. That'll open up an opportunity for Doug Evans to try and pass Colton Lane. Remember, these are the battles in the midfield. They're not fighting for those top positions, but they're still fighting just as hard for every piece of racetrack.
That's right, every position counts here, and these drivers are making it well known just in how hard they're racing each other here. But thus far, ooh, that looked a little close there between Mr. Hunter there and the truck that was to his inside. Looks like the 45. And all things considered, after a rough start, these guys are keeping it pretty clean for the most part.
Yeah, it's been good to see. These drivers have calmed down a bit after those opening shenanigans. As to the inside, it's anything but calm for Doug Evans as he tries to work his way past Clayton Montgomery. But you see Clayton holding that speed on the high line and late apexing the turns to get a beautiful run down the start-finish stretch. Meanwhile, up a few positions, Patrick Cowgill, he is not having a good time here. Lost quite a bit of pace after getting passed by Matthew Long. And Mark Kalin, Richard Thomas and Daniel Knight all in a line behind him, all looking to try and gain this position. Kalin looks like he's going to do it. And, man, there goes Patrick Cowgill up to the high line, loses 3 positions in a single corner. He's going to have to get some fresh rubber on that thing soon.
Yeah, Cowgill definitely looks like he's ailing. Just giving up a lot of positions, and that is obviously suboptimal when you're trying to win a race.
Yeah, the oversteer is still happening for Cowgill on the outside of turns 1 and 2. He does manage to keep Thomas Sink behind him side by side between Daniel Knight and Richard Thomas. Ford versus Chevrolet, the great American battle. And it looks like Ford's going to win that battle out because Richard Thomas, slight bit of oversteer coming out of turns 3 and 4. Something just happened out on track. I saw a few puffs of smoke and not too sure what's going on. But it does seem that the race is staying green. Josh Conker running high and falling back.
Conker was one of those drivers that was running pretty hard there in the early part of this race. Wouldn't be surprised to see the rubber given up on the 54 machine as well.
Oh, I see what happened. Conker had fallen back into Danny Cervantes in the battle for 4th, and Cervantes just clipped the left rear quarter of Conker's truck coming out of turn 4. We'll get it on the replay now as the race continues to stay green here. And you see Conker just running a bit high. Cervantes thinks, oh, the door's open, I can take it, but there wasn't enough space at that point.
Yeah, that's a tough move there. Definitely mistimed it a little bit. So that's not great for Cervantes and Conker, but all things considered, it definitely could have gone worse for him.
Certainly, at least he managed to keep the truck going straight with minimal damage. He has lost positions, but he can certainly gain those back. So Danny Cervantes, the one we focus on now at the front of this pack, and it's getting a bit leery there, still between Daniel Knight and Richard Thomas, with Josh Conker now involved in this battle in the white truck there on the outside. The black truck on the inside, Daniel Knight, oh, big helpings of rear end instability out of turns 3 and 4. Seems to be the main place where drivers are having issues here with those rear tires. Can Knight get past Conker here? Well, Conker going a little bit deeper into turn 1. He holds on to the momentum through turn 2 as well. And this is a difficult situation for Josh Conker. He'll be banking on a caution coming out pretty soon, so that he loses as little time as possible to come in for his pit stop under caution, because a green flag pit stop would set him back just way too far at this stage.
Yeah, that is a very fair point there. We're closing in on halfway, and most of these drivers still yet to hit pit road. So,
Conker. Oh, big slide. Oh, dear. He holds on to it, and they go 3 wide. Oh, no, contact. Here we go. This might be the caution. No, they all hold on to it. They have to check up. But Josh Conker just managing to hold on to the number 54 there. Goodness me. What a save that was.
Yeah, how about that by Patrick Cowgill? He was so hard on the brakes, he decided it's time to hit pit road.
Yeah. And not surprised at all. These drivers have worked their tyres very hard. So Colton Lane, Patrick Cowgill and Josh Conker all in the lane behind them. We got Jim Westerfield and Adam Young. Check out the replay of that incident as those drivers come in. And how was that? Big contact, and surely on any other track that would have caused a caution, but very well held by all 3 drivers involved here.
Yeah, nice little game of ping pong they played there down the back straightaway.
Very nice indeed. Well, we stay green, and the 25 here still fighting as hard as he ever has. Danny Cervantes and Rob Haynes, Mark Kalin as well. Looks to me like Daniel Knight there making his way past the number 62 of Mark Kalin, and in good order as well, using the width of the track to his advantage, as our pitted drivers are now out, and it looks like Colton Lane, Patrick Cowgill down in 24th and 25th. Josh Conker has rejoined in 26th, about 5 seconds ahead of Jim Westerfield. Adam Shane and Doyle Lawrence, meanwhile, come into the lane for their green flag pit stops, and this is really going to shuffle up the order here.
You know, I was really thinking that the start of pit stops would make it like a land rush to get to pit road, but we're really just seeing drivers trickle in to the pit lane, and that, gotta be honest, that's a little surprising to me.
Yeah, surprising to me as well. Seems that, you know, depending on where you are in the field, you've just been working your tyres way harder. I think if you've got cars around you, you end up putting a lot more heat, a lot more load into those tyres than you would if you were fighting in clear air or on your own, as Danik Momi and Clayton Curry jump into the pits now for their second stops of the night. Of course, they came in under the first caution at the very start. The number 5 of Abner Acosta, all on his own here at the front of the field. Bradley Holly has lost a great deal of time to him at this stage, and thinking that for Bradley Holly at the moment, it's all about trying to hold on to these tyres for as long as possible. I think that's why he might have backed off. He was pressuring Abner Acosta quite a bit before, but now just looking after that rubber, trying to get a fresh set on as late in the race as possible to try and go for the win, as our points leader is now into the lane as well.
Yeah, they're still trickling into the pit lane. Charles Sumner heading down for his second stop of the day. And really interested to see how these pit stops end up shaking out.
Well, thanks to the pit lane cycling through, Matthew Long now moves to the lead of the cars that have pitted, and Thomas Sink actually coming into the pit lane from 10th place, as it's side by side on track here. The 184 of Bradley Holly, and lapping a car here.
Looks like your leader's hitting pit road.
Oh yeah, he is too. Abner Acosta is in, and it looks like he's joined by Joshua Daniels in the red Chevrolet behind. So now, how long does Bradley Holly hold on before he decides to come in for his stop?
Well, you got to think the clock is ticking on that now. Acosta may have called his bluff.
Could very well be a nice undercut to try and extend that gap at the front for Abner Acosta. Bradley Holly is slowing down and going for the lane, so immediately responding here to Abner Acosta. We'll see how this works out for our lead battle.
So now the race is really going to be to see who gets around first. If Acosta gets back by, or if Holly makes it out ahead. We'll see how this one comes out. Holly usually pretty efficient in pit lane.
Well, the tyres are bolted on to the 184 Ford. All 4 tyres here for Bradley Holly, and that makes sense. I think only in very extreme circumstances would you want to take tyres on only one side of the car. He is out, and looks like Abner Acosta moves back into the effective race lead. Mark Kalin is the leader on the road right now, but along with Danny Cervantes and Richard Thomas, he has not come into the pit lane yet. Doug Evans, the latest car to come into the lane, as Bradley Holly rejoins here. And Abner Acosta trying to fight his way past here. He's got Matthew Long for very close company, and remember Long, he pitted a few laps before. He's had a lot of time to take advantage of the fresher rubber before Abner Acosta came in for his pit stop, and now really starting to pressure him there in the 99. I think Matthew Long has suddenly made himself a candidate for the win here.
Yeah, you thought the day was going to go much differently after qualifying. But looks like your points leader is coming on strong as Mark Kalin finally heads to pit road.
That leaves Danny Cervantes and Richard Thomas as the last two cars yet to pit. They are on 53-lap-old tyres now, and that would certainly not be fun to drive. I think we can expect them in very shortly. Maybe they're holding out for another caution, who knows? But it doesn't look like that caution is coming anytime soon. So they will have to filter back through the field. But Abner Acosta will still hold on here to the effective race lead. Bradley Holly is 3 positions behind Abner Acosta now. He's got Matthew Long and Adam Zemke in between he and the driver he was battling for the lead with before. But he's going to make it only one car now as he passes Adam Zemke into turn 3.
Yeah, Holly's going to be a man on a mission here, trying to run down the 2 trucks ahead of him. He definitely wants that season points championship as well as the year-long one. And Matthew Long is his competition there.
That's exactly right. Danny Cervantes into the pits, and there goes Richard Thomas as well. So the field is cleansed. Everyone has gone through at least one pit stop here tonight, and we'll be hoping that it's out-and-out racing here to the end. Abner Acosta filters back into the race lead. Matthew Long now up to second. Miguel Angel Cardozo up into P3. And that is quite the run for him. Remember, Miguel, he pitted under the second caution, and he's on 46-lap-old tyres at the moment, is Miguel. So he's up there now, but with 30 laps to go, he'll be hoping for a caution. Actually, no, he's going to come into the lane here for his second stop of the night. It makes sense.
Yeah, I got to imagine he's at that point where everyone was around when the pit cycle started on his tires, and you got to think that truck was a handful as he heads to pit road.
Indeed. Well, he's going to filter through to the rear of the field now. We were briefly looking, and we return to this battle for P4. Adam Zemke, Patrick Cowgill, and Colton Lane all in a line here. And Zemke's done well. So has Matthew Long, up from 18th to 2nd. Adam Zemke up from 13th to 4th. They've got a lapped truck here of Richard Thomas, who, remember, has just come out of the pit lane. And those fresher tyres working to his advantage. He's able to stay ahead of these guys. I don't think Adam Zemke is going to be complaining too much. He'll get a nice draft and be able to save a bit more fuel from that. But Cowgill is having to face up against Colton Lane on the inside just behind. And Colton, it seems, a bit too much oversteer down on the bottom. He almost had the move done, but maybe a bit too spirited on the throttle. Patrick Cowgill stays ahead, and look who it is. Joshua Daniels now up in the midst of this battle. Adam Zemke's managed to get past Richard Thomas into turn 1, but again, you see the value of those fresher tyres. Richard Thomas, despite being a lap down on these guys, he's able to hold on around the outside. Shows how much difference fresh tyres make.
That's definitely a huge difference. If he's able to keep up this pace, I wouldn't be too shocked to see him possibly make it back onto the lead lap.
Well, he's had to let by Joshua Daniels, who made very short work of Colton Lane and Patrick Cowgill, it has to be said, and he's made short work of Adam Zemke as well. Back up into 4th place now for Joshua Daniels, but he's got a long way ahead to Bradley Holly, who's now in P3. And now that that battle has calmed down just a little bit, I think actually, oh dear, we've got a couple of cars on the wall. Cuello Guerra, he was battling side by side with the number 18 of Rob Nellor just ahead of Bradley Holly, and it looks like Guerra having to just go a bit slow here on the back stretch. He did collect the wall in turns 1 and 2 in that side by side.
Yeah, Guerra's had a rough go of it here the last few races, and looks like he's going to head pit side and get some of that damage repaired.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Still got 24 laps to go, and if there's another caution in the final stages, then he should be able to draw up a few more positions somewhere down the line. Bradley Holly, meanwhile, he's caught up to Matthew Long here. Abner Acosta in the lead by 1.4 seconds. And there's no lapped traffic now for these drivers to deal with. Holly in the draft of Matthew Long. It's Ford F-150 versus Ford F-150 here. And looks to me like the 184 has the advantage in terms of pace. A great run out of turns 1 and 2, and he's going to go to the inside through turns 3 and 4. Matthew Long makes it easy for Bradley Holly. I think he knew that position wasn't really worth fighting too hard for. Holly, of course, on those lovely fresher tyres.
Yeah, those tires still showing to be making a difference out there.
Yeah, Matthew Long's tyres are only 3 laps older than Bradley Holly's, but it seems Bradley is just pushing harder at this stage to try and catch back up to Abner Acosta. Of course, now that he's in second, he could potentially wait for a caution and back off a little bit. Hope that the caution comes out, and then he'll be able to get all of that time back for free versus Abner Acosta. But at this stage, considering how clean it's been since the start, I think there's a very small chance that there's going to be a caution here as we check back in on Patrick Cowgill, who's been having a bit of a rough time of it here. He's up behind Rob Haynes, and Patrick has now fallen outside the top 10. He's been passed by Knight, Montgomery, and Haynes, and they've still got Colton Lane up ahead of them as well. Cowgill, how old are his tyres? 22 laps versus 13, 14 laps for everyone else around him, as the number 60 goes a little bit high there. Colton Lane ends up having to let them go, so another bit of a hint of a draft there for Patrick Cowgill.
Yeah, Patrick was one of the very first drivers to pit during that most recent pit cycle, so he's definitely got some more age on that rubber than some of the other drivers.
See how he is at the end. It is 20 laps to go, so if you're on those tires now, you're pretty much locked into it, unless there's a series of cautions to the end. Adam Zemke once again fighting for 6th place here, but he might just lose it to Daniel Knight coming through turns 1 and 2. Can Zemke hold the outside? No, unfortunately, he cannot. No advantage up there for him at this stage with those tyres that he has on the car. So Daniel Knight now up into P6, and Montgomery filters through into P7, still pressuring Daniel Knight.
Yeah, Daniel Knight definitely having no peace here with quite a few trucks coming up behind him.
It's quite the battle pack actually there for P6. They've got Danik Momi and Nicholas Hunter, 2 of our less fortunate competitors today, up ahead of them, and we'll be encountering them very shortly. Have a look at the run of pace that Daniel Knight has. He's already drawn up to the back of Nicholas Hunter, who will stay wide and let him go. Hunter is running down in 28th position now and still carrying a great deal of damage on the front bumper. Remember, you can't take a fast repair in this series. No spare truck available. So if you've got damage, you've got to carry it for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and that's already caught a few drivers out here today, and a couple of them have exited the race because of having to race with that damage. Just wasn't worth it to them.
Well, as this battle continues, I'll do a quick lap time comparison between our top 2. Abner Acosta, a 31.824, and a 31.774 for Bradley Holly, as it's side by side across the start-finish line here. Oh, take it easy, guys, into the first turn. Clayton Montgomery and Daniel Knight side by side. Knight up on the outside, and not getting as much momentum off the top of the banking as he probably would like. He's going to have to fight hard to hold on to this position. He does give the room to Clayton Montgomery on the inside. They just leave a fraction of a car width between them, but it looks like Montgomery filtering through then into P6, and it looks like these guys will be fighting with each other for the rest of the race, because Mark Kalin in P5, he's, God, must be 4 seconds ahead as he battles with Joshua Daniels.
Yeah, this is definitely a tight battle we're seeing on screen here.
Back to the inside. goes Daniel Knight. Seems they're content to battle like this with each other, but they're going to have to look out for Rob Haynes in the Toyota behind them. All three brands represented in this battle. The nice wide turn one, though, works to Clayton Montgomery's favor. He's able to get on the throttle beautifully and consolidate that position. Daniel Knight, though, seems his tires might be starting to give up. He's starting to face a lot of pressure there from Rob Haynes.
Yeah, and Rob Haynes is really coming on strong here in the latter stages of this event. He did start 6th here, but has had a really quiet run. But we're seeing him kind of wake up here in the last few laps.
Oh, a little bit wide there for the number 17. I think might have clipped the wall there, did Daniel Knight on the entry to turn 1. So that allows Rob Haynes through, at least for the time being. Manages to hold on very well on the outside, does Daniel Knight, and keep the position there. Seems that Rob Haynes, he's not going to push it too hard here. You know, he's still in a very good position in the top 10. He has lost 2 positions from where he started, but he should still get a good points haul from this round. So with 12 to go now, it's in his best interests, really, to just calm things down and not fight too hard for those positions. Meanwhile, the number 62 of Mark Kalin is fighting as hard as possible with Joshua Daniels, who wants 4th place back.
Yeah, Kalin definitely looks to be on the move here at the moment.
He is well on the move. Kalin up 4 positions from where he started. The biggest mover in the field has been Clayton Montgomery, ahead of that battle with Daniel Knight and Rob Haynes. He's up 20 positions from where he started, the number 45. An excellent run, and you can certainly be proud of that.
Yeah, and Clayton's really had the whole gamut of things thrown at him today, and has excelled in every opportunity he's had in this race, and made the most of it here. Up 20 spots from where he started, so he has definitely not taken the easy route to get there, and looking very strong there as he knocks on the door of the top 5.
It's been some great performances here today. Not least these guys, our leaders, Abner Acosta, Bradley Holly, Matthew Long as well. Matthew with a scintillating rise up through the field, showing why he is the points leader coming into this round, though. With Bradley Holly ahead of him, there's every chance that Matthew Long will lose the overall points lead coming out of this round. Abner Acosta, meanwhile, will be counting his lucky stars here. He's on course with now 8 laps to go for the win, which should lock him into the next round of the playoffs, and that will be crucial.
This is definitely going to help his championship hopes, as a win here will lock him into the round of 8, which takes some pressure off as we head to a bit of a wild card in Martinsville next week.
Yeah, that's going to be quite the interesting round. The polar opposite in terms of racetrack design to Texas Motor Speedway. Very short and very tight turns at Martinsville. Be interesting to see who comes out on top there, but Abner Acosta is under very little pressure here at the front of the field. Bradley Holly still shadowing him in the background in every other shot or so. But it's not as close as it was at Kansas last week. Nonetheless, still an excellent battle between these two in the opening stages, and the fight is certainly not over between the two of them. 6 to go now.
Yeah, you got to think Bradley Holly, watching our lap comparison there, it's really been back and forth between these two, but the last few laps, Holly has actually been taking a couple chunks out. Or, you know, I think I'm reading that exactly backwards. Never mind. Oh, no, I did have it right there. Okay. These negatives and positives, it's you know, I was never good at algebra. But yeah, Holly has been taking some chunks out of the lead And with 5 laps left, and he's a couple seconds back still. You got to wonder if he has enough time to fight back.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's too little too late, unfortunately. There's not much time left in the race, and of course Holly's having to contend with the lapped truck of Baron Hilton here, which might stymie his run a bit, maybe give him a bit of an extra draft, but I don't think there's enough time here to really catch up to Abner Acosta unless there's a mistake for the number 5. And Abner Acosta, he seems nice and calm out there in the front. Barely any hints of under or oversteer for that truck. The number 5 looking in complete control of his machine.
Yeah, really, other than some connection issues, really, Abner Acosta has not turned a wheel wrong this entire race. Only gave up the lead long enough to pit. I mean, Abner has absolutely done a tremendous job here. Really shown how far he's come along as an oval racer. He came from the road racing side of things and has taken to oval racing like a duck to water. Just an absolutely amazing job here, and he's really accenting that today by going up against some tremendous oval racers like Bradley Holly head to head and coming out on top.
It will be interesting to hear Abner Acosta's thoughts after this race, and that car that you saw passing him was Baron Hilton, who's down in 27th, and Baron, it seems, on some supremely fresh tyres. I was worried that Baron might end up causing Bradley Holly to slow down, but that's not the case. Baron Hilton with some great pace here as he tries to gain any kind of position back, but he's got quite a ways ahead to Richard Thomas in 26th. It's now the final lap, white flag for Abner Acosta. And it seems, you know, maybe a bit of a slide in turns 1 and 2, but that's sometimes what you want here in the closing stages of the race through that technical couple of first turns. But now the checkered flag beckons for Abner Acosta. The next round of the playoffs, he won't have to worry about qualifying for that. Crossing the line in first place, Abner Acosta wins at Texas Motor Speedway and is locked in to the next round of the playoffs.
And with that, Bradley Holly is going to cross the line here and lock himself into a second place finish. And a nice podium for Matthew Long as well.
Yeah, gotta say, Matthew Long, one of the star competitors today, trying his best to keep himself in that overall points championship fight. So with all of these guys now across the line, going to be a fantastic celebration here for Abner Acosta. He can certainly be proud of this drive. As he begins his victory celebrations, we'll step aside very briefly here on the Global Sim Racing channel. You're watching the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. We'll be back very shortly with our race results and interviews with our top 3.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Well, it was a fantastic night of racing here in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series at Texas Motor Speedway. Here is how the results stacked up. From pole position, Abner Acosta won by 2 seconds from Bradley Holly. Matthew Long working his way all the way up the field from just inside the top 20 to finish in third. Excellent result from there. Mark Kalin and Joshua Daniels round out the top 5. Clayton Montgomery and Daniel Knight 6th and 7th, and it's Rob Haynes, Doug Evans and Adam Zemke who round out the top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 was Colton Lane with an 11th place finish. Austin Hunter hangs on for 12th, with Charles Sumner recovering to 13th. Danny Cervantes faded a little bit at the end to come home 14th over Thomas Sink in 15th. Then it was Patrick Calgill, Jim Westerfield, Adam Shane, AJ Roderick, last trucks on the lead lap, and then Adam Young, 1 lap down, last truck in the top 20.
In 21st, it was Rob Nella. Doyle Lawrence comes home where he started in 22nd, and certainly it wouldn't have been helped by that start crash, which a few drivers are unhappy about. Josh Conker fell from 4th to 23rd, and did not go well for him there. His tyres just were not with him towards the end. Miguel Angel Cardozo comes home in 24th, and then it's Danik Momi, Richard Thomas, and Baron Hilton, the last cars to come home a lap down. Nicholas Hunter was able to get to the finish, finishing 28th for his troubles. Huello Guerra, I think, was able to get a classified finish as well in 29th. Clayton Curry in 30th. Unfortunately, 3 retirements from this one. Ryan Traver, Dalton Geyer, and Eric Hauk. And Hauk, one of the cars involved in that start crash that brought out the first caution right away. So now we move to our driver interviews for the night. And first off, obviously, it would have to be Abner Acosta, our race winner. Welcome to the comms box, Abner. Congratulations for your victory. Seemed like you had a nice gap at the end, but it wasn't all plain sailing.
Hello, guys. Good evening. I was at the front most of the race, but I was, Brad kept me honest the whole time. And even at the end there, he was kind of catching up a little bit, but it's unusual, I think, for me to lead this much. So I was definitely worried for Brad, but good race for me. Led most laps. Got a lot of points today.
You ended up pitting a lap early versus Bradley Holly, which ended up giving you a great advantage. It seems, like fresh tyres, they're always more important in the trucks, but seems that it was quite a big difference between between just a lap difference in age between the tyres here.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to stay out. I'm not sure why Brad was staying out because I was gapping him on the first stint on the late run. So I kind of wanted to stay out, but I just decided just to pit early and get that little extra advantage. And yeah, when he came out of the boxes, he was faster than me, and that got me a little worried because he caught up to like 1.8, and then I just started pushing again and was able to equalize that. But yeah, definitely pitting early helped us well.
Certainly did, and now you've been locked into the next round of the playoffs, so that should be another weight off your shoulders.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the most important thing right now, and our goal here to get to the Final Four, and get a shot to the championship. So it's a lot of weight off. I can kind of concentrate on the next races to work on the last race. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Abner, is there anyone else you'd like to give a shout out to? Any sponsors or supporters you'd like to thank?
Yes, I want to thank Private Label Team Hype and everybody that helps out. Ty was spotting, Brandon was helping out, and Josh. I know he didn't get a good finish, but he was also giving input. Ethica, Neonism, Tomahawk, and GSRC for broadcasting, and PRL for hosting the league.
That's Abner Acosta there, your race winner here at Texas Motor Speedway. The next driver to jump in for an interview here, we have the driver who shadowed Abner Acosta in the first half of the race. Chris Phobie stood by with Bradley Holly.
Well, Brad, another solid run for you here today, coming home in second. Abner looked like he had that truck dialed in, though. Was there anything else you could do to get up there with him? Oh, Brad having some technical difficulties there.
There we go. Oh,
There
we
it
go.
is.
I forgot to take it off push talk. That first run, I felt like the dirty air was really affecting my truck, even making me loose or tight. I had to basically play a fine line on that.
Now, towards the later stages there, you were kind of racing on your own. What kind of goes through your head there when you're on an island by yourself there, like you were in second place for most of the last stage of the race?
At that point, I mean, to be honest, I was hoping there wouldn't be a caution because with what I've seen in officials and all that stuff, it was anybody's game, kind of like how the Cup Series was on Sunday, where it'd be full throttle and whoever can get it to stick can win.
All right, well, you're locked into the next round of the playoffs, but we got Martinsville coming up. What are your feelings on definitely a much different course that we're going to be at next week?
We'll have to see. Our track record on short tracks lately hasn't been the greatest, so hopefully everybody that's in the trucks can take their time and we have a good long race and not have basically cut down on the caution. But if it's a caution fest, I have a feeling it's just going to be all about survival.
All right, well, Brad, anyone you want to thank to help make today possible for you?
I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting this week in and week out. You always put on a fantastic show. I always enjoy watching y'all streams after each race. Everybody in the PRL, all the organizers, Charles Sumner especially, and all the Waterbike guys. We practice week in and week out and try to be up front and battle for the win.
All right, thanks for joining us, Brad. Hopefully we talk to you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Reese.
Yeah, it was an excellent performance from Bradley Holly to keep himself up there in the race versus Abner Acosta. The final driver interview of the night is going to be our third place finisher and a driver that we didn't quite expect to be up there at the end, but I suppose considering he was the points leader going into this round, it makes sense. Matthew Long joins us. Welcome, Matt. Excellent performance from you. Congratulations on the podium. And what ended up getting it done for you?
We had a really poor qualifying effort I guess I didn't run the right line or whatever, and we had to start way back in 18th. So kind of just playing catch up all day. Luckily we were able to pass some trucks early. Then we got that quick caution, which kind of bunched us back up and got by some more there, and then had really good long run pace. I don't know if it was the way I was arcing it into one or what, but was able to stick with those guys in the long run, and then picked up a spot with short pit strategy there, and I knew I wouldn't have anything really for Abner and Brad. They had a little fresher tires at the end there, so kind of just settled into third and just brought her home there. Good race for us. We needed that after last week. We had a pretty poor race at Kansas, so that was good for us.
Yeah, certainly was. And I guess I want to get your thoughts on how the truck races at Texas, because obviously it was reconfigured a few years ago. Turns 1 and 2 are now a little bit flatter. How does that affect how you approach the lap and battling with other drivers?
Yeah, I was a Texas hater until I actually started racing on it, and I actually think it's a pretty fun track. The setup we had with this truck, turns 1 and 2 being so flat, you really had to, kind of trail brake a little bit to get it to turn. And it was really kind of line sensitive through 1 and 2. So you really, you wanted to kind of get that nice arc going through there to save the tires the best you can and not push it too hard. So 1 and 2 was where you could really save tires, and then 3 and 4, it was pretty loose on the long run there. But if you kind of roped the bottom line and kind of got in the groove and missed the one bump that was down there in the bottom in 3 and 4, you get a pretty good run on people. So it's a pretty fun track.
Well, we go to the polar opposite of it next week, Martinsville. What are your predictions for that, and how you think you're going to go there?
I think, you'll see the same faces up front for sure. I think Abner will be good there. Martinsville, I know it's a paperclip short track, but it kind of races like a road course with how much braking you got to do. So I know he'll be good. It's a track that I've always loved. I feel like I'm pretty good under braking. So I'm hoping to have a good performance there as well. I'm excited for it.
As are we, Matthew, and thanks for joining us. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I definitely want to thank Taylor Stout. He was crew chiefing for me all night, kind of, let me run the race and kept me updated on things. So that was a lot of fun. And just want to thank you guys in the PRL for putting on a great show each week.
Matthew Long, third place here at Texas Motor Speedway, exactly what he needs to keep himself in the fight for the overall points championship. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, Chris, and I think things are set up very well for Martinsville next week.
Yeah, I think it'll be another great show, a very challenging short track, and with a nice mix of driver backgrounds here, I think we'll be in for a good show.
Certainly we will be. Before we go, another thanks to our series sponsors, Advanced SimRacing. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. Also, RaceLab, that helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. The ButtKicker, feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Also, SimMSA, find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And last but not least, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks must go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp page for more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Chris, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the bottom of the screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel right here as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is, of course, at Martinsville, October the 27th at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, we say race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.